Southeastern Suffolk and northeastern Essex are home to the Red Crag, an English geological formation. It has been suggested that the Red Crag began in late Pliocene and may have continued into early Pleistocene, but more accurate dating is disputed. According to British Geological Survey, Red Crag was formed between 3.3 and 2.5 million years ago, while the Red Crag near Walton-on-Naze is thought to be the oldest, having been formed in only a few decades between about 2.9 to 2.6 million years ago. Sands in the thin beds of clay and silt deposited in sand waves, mega-ripples that migrated parallel to the beach, make up the majority of the sediment in the outcrops. Bivalves and gastropods are the most abundant fossils, and they are frequently worn by the abrasive environment. J. Reed Moir, who had previously discovered several unusually old flint implements in other excavations, recorded a series of mineralized bone implements of a primitive kind from below the base of Red and Coralline Crags of Suffolk in the early 20th century. The top of the Red Crag in East Anglia is presently thought to indicate Pleistocene boundary, which would thus be 2 to 2.5 million years old. The older Coralline Crag dates from the late Pliocene, therefore it's at least 2.5 to 3 million years old. The debris strata beneath the Red and Coralline Crags contains materials ranging in age from Pliocene to Eocene. The age of the objects discovered there could range from 2 million to 55 million years. Moir's specimens come in a variety of shapes, including triangular examples. He stated in his report, "These have all been formed from wide, flat, thin pieces of bone, probably portions of large ribs, which have been so fractured as to now present a definite form. The triangular form has in every case been produced by fractures across the natural grain of the bone." Moir performed bone studies and concluded that his specimens were undoubted works of man. The triangular bits of fossilized whalebone discovered in the strata beneath Coralline Crag, according to Moir, may have been used as spear points in the past. Moir also discovered whale ribs fashioned into pointy utensils. Moir and his colleagues discovered incised bones and bone utensils in the Cromer forest bed at all levels, from the youngest to the oldest. The Cromer forest bed's youngest strata are just under 500,000 years old. The oldest are at least 750,000 years old, and according to some current authorities, could be as much as 1.75 million years old. In addition, Moir recorded a bone unearthed by Mr. Wingap of Woodbridge, Suffolk, who possessed a fragment of fossil rib sawn in half across both ends in his private collection. This artifact was discovered beneath the Red Crag in debris bed and was regarded by both the discoverer and the late Reverend Osmond Fisher as affording evidence of human handiwork, according to Moir. On a fossil bone of this antiquity, signs of sawing would be exceedingly unusual. S.A. Nutgut collected a piece of sawn wood from Munsley's Cromer forest bed. The Munsley strata are mostly grouped around 500,000 years old. Moir made the following observations about the cut wood during his remarks. The flat end appears to have been produced by sawing with a sharp flint. At one spot it seems that the line of the cutting has been corrected, as is often necessary when starting to cut wood with a modern steel saw. The pointed end is somewhat blackened as if by fire, and it is possible that the specimen represents a primitive digging stick used for grubbing up roots. While it is possible that Homo erectus-like humans were present in England during the period of the Cromer forest bed, the level of technological complexity implied by this sawn wood instrument suggests sapien-like capabilities. Even with stone utensils, it's difficult to imagine how this level of sawing could have been accomplished. Because the wooden holder is wider than the flint teeth, little flint chips mounted in a wooden holder could not have produced a neat cut visible on the specimen. As a result, such a gadget couldn't have cut the narrow groove. saw blade, made entirely of stone, would have been very brittle and not long enough to complete the task. Furthermore, constructing a stone blade would have been quite a feat. As a result, it appears that observed sawing could only be produced by a metal saw. A metal saw at 4 to 5 million years is, of course, highly unusual. At a conference of the Royal Anthropological Institute of Great Britain and Ireland, April 8, 1872, Edward Charlesworth, a Fellow of the Geological Society, displayed various specimens of shark teeth from Carcharodon. The teeth, which were found in the Red Crag Formation in eastern England, each with a hole bored through the middle, like South Sea Islanders do, for the purpose of making weapons and necklaces, dates from 2 to 2.5 million years ago. This find caused much discussion to ensue among the conference's attendees. According to Charlesworth's argument, boring mollusks, for example, could not have formed the holes. One scientist mentioned tooth rotting as the culprit during the conversation, although sharks aren't known to have that problem. Another person proposed parasites, but agreed that no such parasites have been found in fish teeth. At that point, Dr. Collier expressed his support for human action. According to the minutes of the meeting, he had carefully examined, by aid of a powerful magnifying glass, the perforated shark's teeth. The perforations, to his mind, were the works of man. Among his reasons given for this position were the beveled conditions of the edges of the perforations, the central position of the holes in the teeth, in the thin portion where it would have been most easily perforated, and the irregularity of the marks of artificial means employed in making the borings. H. Slopes, Fellow of the Geological Society, described a shell with a rudimentary but definitely human face on its surface in a report to the British Association for the Advancements of Science in 1881. The carved shell was discovered in red crag stratified layers, which are between 2 and 2.5 million years old. In an article published in the Geological magazine, 1912, Marie C. Slopes, the discoverer's daughter, contended that the carved shell could not have been counterfeit. It should be noted that the excavated features are as deeply colored red-brown as the rest of the surface, an important point because when the surface of red crag shells are scratched, they show white beneath the color. It should also be noticed that the shell is so delicate that any attempt to carve it would merely shatter it. Keep in mind, according to mainstream paleoanthropological theory, such works of art do not appear until the late Pleistocene, some 30,000 years ago, during the time of fully modern Cro-Magnon man. It's strange that so many reputable scientific investigators in the 19th and early 20th centuries independently and frequently claimed that traces on Miocene, Pliocene, and early Pleistocene strata were indicative of human labor. Were these scientists deluded? It's possible. Cut marks on fossil bones, on the other hand, are a strange thing to have fantasies about. They're neither romantic nor motivating. Were the aforementioned researchers victim of a one-of-a-kind mental anomaly that afflicted the previous century, the early part of this one? Or are Pliocene and earlier faunal relics generally filled with evidence of ancient hunters? The incised bones, utensils, and other artifacts from red crag and Comer forest beds are barely discussed in today's mainstream textbooks and references, which is surprising. Particularly notable is the case of the Comer forest bed findings, the majority of which are on the verge of being acceptable in terms of the present paleoanthropological sequence of events, due to their age. If such proof exists, one could wonder why it isn't being discovered today. The fact that no one is looking for it is one very good reason. Evidence of deliberate human manipulation on bone might readily slip the notice of a scientist who isn't actively looking for it. If a paleoanthropologist believes tool-making humans did not exist during the Middle Pliocene, he is unlikely to consider the precise nature of markings on fossil bones from that time period.